and replace it with AI. Anyway, we have our first guest of the show. We have Ryan Cohen, the CEO of GameStop. Can you hear me, Ryan? How are you doing?
I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. We have serious technical difficulties today. But I believe we have you here on the phone. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for taking the time. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
We're doing great. We'd love to just get the story of GameStop from your perspective, kind of how you tell it now. You're a couple years into this project. We'd love to kind of get the high level, just to set the stage.
Where do you want to start?
Maybe the original idea. Like, when did you think you'd become involved with this company?
I originally invested as a passive investor.
Mm-hmm.
I had a few conversations with the management team and the board of directors, and I realized that I saw a lot of stuff that you read about, but you don't really believe until you actually engage with them. And as we went through conversations, I went from passive to active, and filed the 13D, I believe, in August of 2020, and then I joined the board in January of 2021. And the rest is history. The long story short is there's been a lot of changes at the company, a lot of cost cutting, a lot of rationalization, focusing on the basics of running a profitable business. And a lot of it was getting people out of the way. A board of directors that had perverse incentives, a management team that had perverse incentives. Ultimately, what you see is that when people don't have their own money on the line, they don't give a shit. Mm-hmm. And they're focused on all kinds of other stuff that ultimately doesn't matter to shareholders. And a lot of it was getting that out of the way so that we could actually focus on the business. And, you see it in the results of the business today versus where it was, not just when I joined the board, but you look at the results even prior to that. It's a tough business.
Yeah, totally. Well, what do you think the mainstream media gets wrong about the GameStop story today, or has gotten wrong throughout the whole saga?
That's not an easy question to answer because we're talking in generalities, and
sure,
I don't want to I can't stereotype. General. Everyone thinks they know. The mainstream media thinks they know. I'm running the business, and they seem to have greater visibility into the business than I do. So everyone has an opinion as opposed to actually just focusing on the results. And in general, the news should just focus on the results instead of comments from the peanut gallery.
Yeah, let's talk about Q2 specifically. What made that one of the biggest quarters in years?
It's a focus on running a business like an owner and cutting costs and making money and leaning into the areas of the business where there's margin potential, just trading cards, and then getting rid of the bloat. As an example, I was just looking at this earlier today before we spoke. 2021, there were over 1,400 people in corporate.
Wow.
Today, there's like 400 people.
Wow. Yeah.
And we're more productive today than we were in 2021. SG&A has come down by like 50%. So people build teams, they hire people. Ultimately, what that means is they delegate their work to someone else. You end up taking on this crazy cost structure, and it works when the business is growing, but doesn't work well once the business stops growing. And that's where GameStop was. And physical retail is tough.
Yep. How much of that corporate restructuring, going from, I think you said 1,400 people down to 400, how much of that is just reorienting around players, aligned incentives, picking the best person to actually run a specific initiative versus using technology, using software, using AI? Is there any sort of narrative around that you've found success with?
It's both. Even finding the right people, though, you don't know. I mean, I've been interviewing people for a long time, and you meet people, I meet them, and I get really excited because they're really good at the interview process and they know how to say the right thing. So what does that mean? It means they've got really good public speaking skills, so they over-index there. And then you actually, when you look at their execution skills, they're not great. So I've been as equally excited as people that I've hired that have worked out as I have been of people that I've hired that I wasn't excited about. And then they proved to me that they can actually execute. So, the results speak for themselves. You really only know once you put someone in the position and you see what they're capable of. They can tell a great story. They can put together a great PowerPoint presentation, but you don't actually know until you see what they can actually do. So there's no question that artificial intelligence and just broadly speaking, technology has increased productivity. That's been a big benefit, and then doing more with less.
Yep.
You take a $0 salary, you have billions of dollars of cash on hand. How do you plan to allocate it over the next 2 to 3 years? I don't want to go too long term.
There's we don't have a gun to our head, so it needs to be a situation where the downside is limited and the upside is really high. And that's a different calculus than the world of private equity or venture capital or any money managers where they're incentivized to deploy capital because they get management fees. In this case, a fancy way of saying is it's risk adjusted. I don't want to lose money, and I want a situation where there's a good chance of making money and a really low chance of losing money. So it needs to be a pitch that is pretty much down the middle.
Does that mean you're waiting? You're waiting for a crash?
You never know what's going to happen in the financial markets. They can go from green to red, and they don't flash yellow. So when that happens, we'll be in a position. But
I just feel like it's notable that you have all these digital asset treasury companies that are just market buying obscene amounts of Bitcoin and other tokens, and you guys are taking a longer view.
Yeah, definitely.
What are you excited about in the core business over the next few years between retail, online? You mentioned trading cards. Can you unpack a little bit more about some of the key initiatives, like the customer behaviors that you see as really big opportunities?
I tried a lot of different things. So I originally went in with the Chewy playbook. We focused first on consumables. So we had a lot of success on pet food, treats, litter, things that you could put on auto ship. And then it went from focus on consumables, getting customers on auto ship, to we're going to be the everything pet store, and we're going to expand our catalog, and we're going to add all these hard goods. So I had all these preconceived biases where I was going to copy the Chewy playbook at GameStop and basically be like the everything store for gaming. And I hired a bunch of fancy people from both Amazon and Chewy, and we expanded the catalog, and we added a bunch of product, and most of that product didn't sell, and we ended up marking it down and taking a big hit, and it cost shareholders a lot of money, because once you have the product trapped in stores, you got to mark it down in order to move and get it out of the stores. Whereas within the consumable space, if we ever overbought inventory, we just waited and ultimately bought too much cat food or whatever, it ended up selling.
Yep.
So physical retail is very, very, very different than e-commerce. Yep. And I spent a lot of money to figure that out. And so what I learned is that we went into all these categories, and a lot of we took some significant hits on losing money. We lost money. It's that simple. By trying to expand into all of these categories that were not core to the GameStop customer. And then along comes collectibles. And obviously, after expanding into categories where there's very little success, your risk appetite at that point is pretty low. All of a sudden, we see that they're like the GameStop customer.
Yep. Really,
when it comes to trading cards, there's a strong appetite for trading cards. And that category has done very well. And we've gone from like 10% of our sales to over close to a third, probably for the full year, is going to come from collectibles. And
that's remarkable. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I want to know more about the collectibles thing. Let's table that for a second. I'd love to know more about where you see the traditional video gaming market going. I'm experiencing kind of whiplash because I see mobile games and free to play growing and micropayments happening. EA is getting taken private. You have a lot of stuff going on that end, but then you also have Palmer Luckey kind of bringing back the Game Boy and the N64 with Chromatic. And I know you're partnering on that. What are you excited about? What does the shape of the traditional sort of like video game market look like over the next couple of years?
The video game market is definitely going from physical to digital. Mm-hmm. So our ability to play in the digital world is limited. There's a lot of money that's being spent, and we've taken a CapEx light approach, like mm-hmm. a pretty risk light approach to the digital world. If there's not a clear path to us being able to make money and a payback period that's pretty attractive, then this isn't a story of like moonshots.
Sure.
So there's no moonshots that are being done. Like we're focused on real returns.
Yep. What about wearables, virtual reality? We heard a story about the Meta Quest or the Meta Ray-Ban displays, and a friend of ours went and had to test them at Best Buy and didn't have a great experience. And it feels like if we do enter sort of like a wearable era, there's a renewed demand for in-store experiences. Is that on your radar at all, or is that more of like a futuristic thing that you'll deal with it when it comes down the pipe?
I mean, when I think about wearables, the Apple Watch is a good product. When I think about the Meta Quest, I mean, it's a joke.
Okay.
All of the virtual reality stuff doesn't feel like who's going to walk around with these retarded glasses on their head? Like it's just, it does not seem like that's the future. But if we could sell a product and we can make really high margins, then obviously we're going to sell the product. But we're not investing in virtual reality or in the metaverse unless there's a clear path to being able to deliver results for shareholders.
Yeah. I meant more just as like Apple does have the Apple Store network. Other companies that are trying to get into wearables and might need in-store demos don't have one of those. But I mean, your rationale makes a ton of sense.
It's so interesting to think about when I hear you talk, Ryan, it's you're everything you say aligns with thoughtful capital allocation.
Yes.
And yet the broader world seems to believe that this is just about being, kind of this is, it doesn't.
It's moonshots.
There's CEOs out there that have effectively meme stocks, and they just act and talk a lot differently than you do.
No, this is refreshing.
What do you think about some of the conversations? There's been, I guess, rumors that the admin is interested in companies moving to biannual reporting instead of quarterly reporting. Do you think that's smart? What kind of moves from the admin this year have you been particularly interested in?
I like reducing costs. So if it costs us less money than to report biannually, then by all means. I think it's important for shareholders to have visibility into how the company is doing and then making a determination whether they want to stay invested or not. But if we have an opportunity to reduce our costs, so it costs a lot of money to be a public company.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of money on audit fees. So that hurt me at Chewy, that hurts me at GameStop. They charge us a lot of money. So if it ultimately means we spend less money on being a public company, and it makes us more efficient, then that's fantastic.
I didn't mention it, but thank you for Chewy. I've been a subscriber for probably a decade. It's been the backbone of my household, and my dogs thank you as well. I'm interested to hear your take on kind of evolution of e-commerce. There's a lot of chatter about agentic commerce and people buying through products through their chat apps. Have you looked into that? Do you have a current framework for thinking about the adoption rates of people buying stuff through an LLM?
Amazon started selling pet products in the late 90s, and they were doing okay. Chewy comes along. We originally wanted to start off selling jewelry. We actually bought hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of jewelry. I went to a trade show and I bought hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of jewelry. We set up the website and everything. And then I was shopping in a neighborhood pet store, and I had at the time, like a 5 or 6 pound teacup poodle. And I kept on going to this neighborhood pet store every few weeks. And I run into the office. By the way, I don't wear jewelry. So I was not passionate about the category. I didn't know anything.
That's important.
But I went to this trade
show. You were just kind of, you was picking like, this seems like a good high margin business. And it's light. You can ship.
Yeah, it was a little too mercenary. You got to get into build something that you want so you can give yourself feedback.
Yeah. But you think your intuition is there's margins in jewelry, and so you can make money. There was a Blue Nile at the time that had really high gross margins, and I was like, we can do well in online jewelry. Anyway, I went to this jewelry trade show. I bought hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of jewelry, and then I was shopping kind of at the same time every few weeks at this neighborhood pet store for my poodle. And I was way more interested in the pet category than I was in jewelry. I understood the customer. And so I ended up selling the jewelry. I ended up getting 80 or 90 cents on the dollar. And I went into the pet category, and I liked that. I understood it. I liked the predictability of the industry. I like the fact that once you're a pet owner, you're buying pet food pretty much for the rest of your life. And we shifted. And so Chewy comes along. It's 2011, and I took the playbook from Amazon, so the focus on fast shipping, having great selection, being able to get onto the website, add an item to the cart, and check out. Our average checkout time was less than 2 minutes.
Wow.
So, you think about GoDaddy, and I don't know if you've ever bought a domain name, but you go through the checkout process. They're trying to upsell you on a gazillion stuff.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Chewy is like average checkout time less than 2 minutes. We're not trying to upsell you. It's like, we're going to get you your pet food as fast as possible at the best price. So Chewy comes along in 2011 and completely disrupts the industry.
Yeah.
And we disrupted the independents. We disrupted Petco and PetSmart. And we were delivering your consumables at a better price, faster, with an easier experience, backed up by great customer experience. And so you don't necessarily have to be first to the game in order to be successful. Amazon was first to the game, but we focused on the category and we were successful. And so it's kind of what's interesting in technology in general is like you have these technology companies that are trying to do everything, right? Amazon's trying to do streaming. They're trying to do e-commerce. They're trying to do everything. And then all of a sudden you have Netflix that is really successful in streaming. You have Chewy that's really successful in pet food.
Yeah.
So if you focus on a category, you could be very successful.
How did you process the D2C e-commerce era? It was like really hot in Silicon Valley. Every MBA was raising venture capital, slap a $250,000 brand on a white labeled product and raise some money. And then it kind of fizzled out. But like, how were you processing that at the time? What's your postmortem? Like, how should people think about building brands going forward? Is there still opportunity?
For us, building brand was acquiring one customer at a time and making sure that they got their pet food or whatever the hell they ordered from us, the best price, really quickly. That's how you build a brand. It's not spending a bunch of money on, pets.com, a Super Bowl commercial. It is focusing on the best marketing is word of mouth. Yeah. So you allow a customer through word of mouth. You have a great customer experience. You deliver the product really quickly at a great price, and you have a happy customer. And that was the way to build Chewy, was getting big market leadership and making sure that customers were really happy.
What are the three key lessons from Chewy that you feel like you and the GameStop team are applying today?
Running efficiently. There's no question that we ran a focus on
costs.
Chewy was, they're so different. Thing is you think like e-commerce and physical retail are the same, and that's where I made a lot of mistakes because I showed up like a wise guy at GameStop. I thought I had all the answers, but e-commerce and physical retail are very, very different. Yeah. So in general, within physical retail, what I've learned is you have to run lean, and you're better off having less inventory than more inventory. So, I cost shareholders a lot of money by taking the Chewy playbook at GameStop. And then I learned physical retail, which was a muscle that I had zero memory. And it was on making sure that when you get the product, you sell it very, very quickly. Because if you don't, the product depreciates very quickly. Whereas with Chewy, if I overbought and sold the product very quickly, it didn't matter. So they're not the same. Yeah, they're not the same. The reason why, in general, both concepts have worked out is because, you keep on. I have my own money on the line, so I'm not going to stop until I figure it out. And
you're him,
but it costs a lot of money to figure it out.
Skin in the game. The man's in the arena. Jordy.
People have said you're too.
Yeah.
People have said you're too bold as a CEO. Do you think the traditional concept of a buttoned up CEO that maybe shies away from controversy is obsolete or should be forgotten?
I don't even know what a CEO means. At the end of the day, I want whoever's in charge. If it ends up successful, they end up doing really well. And if it ends up not being successful, they lose a lot of money. And call me the janitor for all I care. At the end of the day, their incentives should be aligned with common shareholders. So that's the most important thing, is that the incentives are generally aligned.
Yeah, you're the loudest shareholder.
Yeah.
How do you decide? How do you decide what battles to fight? Because you got a lot of stuff coming your way at any given point, a lot of opportunity. What's your framework?
My framework is what's going to move the needle. Mm-hmm. Like if we can make 80% margins, but the upside is limited and it's not going to move the needle, then I don't care. If it's able to translate into billions of dollars of shareholder value and it's scalable, then we're talking. So there's a lot of things that are like small time, and yeah, we can make a lot of margin, but there's not a lot of upside in terms of shareholders, then who cares? But if it translates into something meaningful and scalable, then I'm interested.
Do you think power packs could be that?
What do you think?
Well, the chat is going crazy.
They want to
know. They want the update from your side.
Power packs is interesting. Power packs, physical and digital, is very interesting. We can't get enough inventory, so
that's always a good sign.
I don't want to say anything because users can.
Do you see
customers can figure out for themselves?
Yeah. Do you see it as the same sort of like it's more consumption focused, so it fits within the Chewy model, or is that the right way to think about this, as opposed to you're there's less risk of getting stuck with a bunch of inventory?
Are we talking physical or digital?
Physical, I would imagine, would be like the place where there's inventory risk in some regard. But if you view it as more of a consumption product, then like the Chewy story, there's presumably less risk in holding a bunch of inventory.
I like the trading card space.
Okay.
So we have GameStop has a lot of assets. We have the community and the brand that allows us to, if you look at digital power packs, we've kept it pretty limited in terms of being able to get into the digital category. And frankly, it's not a marketing thing. We can't get enough inventory. And it's the same thing on the physical thing. But digital is more scalable. So if we had a choice between physical and digital, because digital is more scalable, we're going to go towards digital. Can't get enough inventory, at least at a price where we can. You can buy inventory at 110 or 120% market value, but we're not gonna start doing stupid stuff like that.
How do you see the collectibles landscape evolving over the next 5 years? It feels like different players have picked a focus, whether that's live, traditional auctions, something like you just discussed as well. But like, what is the shape of the market going forward in your view?
They're all connected. Like if you look at the overall collectible space, it's looked at as a store of value. And it's been that way for decades. If you look at trading cards, it's like nostalgic too. I grew up, I collected trading cards a little bit, but there's definitely a comeback right now on trading cards. So it's looked at as a store of value. Whether that continues or not, who knows? Everyone is like, well, it's going to continue. Everyone thinks crypto is going to continue. Nobody knows.
Yep.
But but we're having a lot of success when you look at our assets right now. Like the way it stands right now is we're selling the product very quickly. We can't get, the more inventory we have, we could sell the product. So we're going to run efficiently, and if we can sell the product, great. And if it happens where we can't sell the product, then we're going to adjust. And, we're going to lower our costs and going to focus on the things that make sense.
Do you have a take on Labubu? I feel like if I find out about it, I'm ultra late, and I might have top ticked it when I finally learned about that. But it seems like it's somewhat important to the collectible boom, the story there. Do you have any idea what's going on?
Do we sell Labubu right now? I don't think we sell Labubu.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, it's like kind of an odd strategy. It has some of the unboxing characteristics, very popular. It seemed like it just kind of emerged out of China, out of nowhere. I was wondering if you had tracked the market at all.
No. Should we sell it?
I don't know. It might be too late. I have no idea.
They're very demonic in our view.
We think they kind of just don't have the right vibe, and I feel like there's plenty of other collectibles that would be more on brand, personally.
How do you...
What was that?
Is it females or males?
I don't know.
I think it's all sorts of people buying them.
I saw Tim Cook had one, so I don't know if that tells you.
Okay.
How are you thinking about? How do you think about M&A in the collectible space? I'm sure people come to you all the time with sort of platforms that maybe have some scale, but not quite the scale that you have that would love to sell to you. But obviously, companies are bought, not sold. So I'm curious if it's something that you would explore in the future.
They don't come to us as often as you think, because they know, they probably go to private equity or venture capital or these fancy hedge funds before they come to us, because I want to make sure that I care about cash flow and the price that I pay. So we don't, we see some deals, but it's hard to compete against guys that are, or girls, whatever, that are getting management fees.
Do you think do you think AI plays into the collectibles world at all? Just this idea that, like, if you have a piece of IP, you can instantiate it maybe much quicker across a whole host of images and videos, and kind of build out an intellectual property world faster. Is that actually an accelerant to the collectible trade?
In general, I'm the person that's very cynical when it comes to emerging technologies.
Sure.
So, like autonomous driving as an example, like everyone was like GM, Ford, all of the big OEMs, they're finished because there's going to be autonomous driving. Oh, it's when it comes to AI, it's a big problem. At some point, the computers are going after the humans. And I don't think it's that far away. I think that the sci-fi movies, when it comes to AI, I feel it. I feel like there's going to be a big problem when it comes to artificial intelligence. And at some point, it's going to be the computers against the humans, China versus the US. Who's going to be the winner? Who the fuck knows? But we got big problems with AI, and it's interesting because you can't stop human innovation, and we've got this insatiable appetite to go into these technologies like artificial intelligence that are very disruptable. There's lots of money that is being poured into it. But what the future looks like, we have to be very, very, very careful. So artificial intelligence, it scares me. I mean, I like the productivity benefits, but AI, once the robots come after us, scares me.
What's your timeline there?
It's faster. It's faster than I would have thought. When I look at what's happening, I don't buy into emerging technologies. But when I look at the advancements in AI, this is no joke. And we have to be very, very, very careful about what's going to happen in artificial intelligence.
Where do you think we are in the market cycle? Do you think it's 1999, February of 2000? Is that even worth comping to, or do you comp to something else?
In AI, it feels early. Doesn't feel like we're at the end. It feels like we're like the second or third inning, but who the hell knows? But at a high level, I think that I think we have to be very careful. When you think about the future of humanity and whether AI is going to benefit the future of humanity, I don't know. I would, if I was running a dictatorship and someone made me king and you told me, should we move forward with this technology? It's not clear to me whether moving forward with AI is going to benefit everyone. It's definitely going to benefit the few that are invested in the industry, but there's going to be a lot of people that are not going to benefit from artificial intelligence. So,
but
I don't know.
But if ChatGPT is depending on paid users right now, they can't, if they killed off humanity, that'd be kind of bad for business. Isn't there a way to solve that alignment issue?
If you look at the tractor trailer, the U.S. in the 1800s, and the tractor trailer, I think it was like 80% of the population was working on the farm. And then all of a sudden, tractor trailer comes along, and a few centuries later, it's like 2 to 3% of the population is working in farming. And you would have said, how the hell can the U.S. economy adapt to something that's so disruptive? And we did. But when it comes to artificial intelligence, I feel like it's different. Maybe I'm biased from some of these sci-fi movies, but there's going to be a lot of wealth inequality that's created. I don't like it. I mean, there's opportunities to be had. There's no question about it. But is it better for humanity in aggregate, AI? What do you think?
Well, I think for me, I think it's very straightforward to imagine the dark sci-fi timeline, but it feels farther away. I mean, at least in our corner of the internet, people have been reacting to Karpathy's interview with Darkesh that was, I think, went live Thursday night, and it feels like the debate right now is AI frontier lab progress slowing down? Is it just autocomplete, and if it's autocomplete and we don't have, if the rate of progress is slowing down, is there massive overinvestment right now? And what I'm hearing from you is simultaneously, generally kind of the doomer point of view, which I think is fair, but at the same time, it doesn't sound like if you were running a hyperscaler, you'd be ramping up CapEx right now.
Are we smart enough as a society to understand what the benefits are and what are the downsides? And everyone has perverse incentives. So someone who's in the AI industry is going to tell us how AI is the best thing since sliced bread. But in general, as a society, if you think across like human evolution over centuries, do I want to take this emerging technology and is this going to benefit the human population in aggregate over the long term? It's TBD.
What
happens when AI becomes smarter than us?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Do you think the solution's government intervention, just good stewardship by the leaders of the foundation model labs? Like, who actually has the responsibility of stewarding the new technology most effectively?
It's governments, and it's ones who have a long tenure. If you look at America, the presidential cycle is 4 years. So I don't know if that's necessarily long-term incentives.
Yeah.
But who cares about where humanity is going to be, not in 4 years from now, not when they check out, but in 100 years from now? Who's got a long-term focus on this emerging technology, and who cares about humanity over centuries? But we have to be very, very careful about this technology.
What was your view on social media a decade ago? It was quite popular for a period to say that social media was destroying humanity, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We seem to have found a way through. But is your view that AI is as bad as people once maybe thought social media would be? Like what specifically, when you think about, one of the things we laugh about internally is just how easy it is to clock when somebody uses AI to generate like a cover letter or a job application, right? It's like a really good way to just get your cover letter application ignored is just to generate it with ChatGPT. It's just beyond obvious, and I'm sure your team has seen a lot of this too. But I'm curious, like, what do you think before we get to the sci-fi doomer scenario where the computers rise up and destroy us all? What's kind of like the immediate impact that you're worried about?
Social media is one of the worst things that happened to humanity. If you look at Instagram, people are so easily manipulated. They filter videos, they filter pictures. You look at these young people, their expectations, their lack of work ethic. China has censored all of this stuff for good reason, because it's so easy to manipulate the layman. And so in general, when I look at social media, I say, well, has it benefited humanity or has it been toxic? There's no question that social media is toxic. AI clearly will increase productivity, but at what cost? At what cost? I think we have to be very, very careful.
When public company CEOs talk about how much efficiency they're getting out of AI, do you think that they're actually getting efficiency out of AI, or do you think they're just pushing their teams harder to be more efficient, and they want to blame the impact on AI?
It's both. It's both. But AI, without question, increases productivity. But, again, it's short-term versus long-term. So if you're running Johnson & Johnson or Procter & Gamble, and you can use artificial intelligence and you could reduce your cost structure because you've got all these humans that are doing these mundane tasks, and all of a sudden you realize the computers are going to do it better. Well, you're going to reduce your cost structure. But all of a sudden, when you have all of these people that are unemployed and the demand for your product goes away, what's better? You want to keep people employed and have some kind of self-worth and working hard and making money? Or do you want to replace them and give them universal basic income? And then what does that mean? Does your consumption and demand for your product in aggregate go up or go down as a result of artificial intelligence? I don't know. But one thing I know for certain is that the CEOs, if they can reduce their cost structure in the short term, they're going to take computers over humans. But is that better for humanity over the long term? You tell me. Everyone on UBI over the long term, how does that make them feel? People need a purpose.
You don't think we'll create new jobs? I mean, we created email jobs. A lot of them could go away and the world wouldn't be too much different.
Artificial intelligence feels different.
Yeah, I just wonder if we could compete on other things.
It feels different.
Like we could still have hierarchies and competitions on things that only humans can do. I mean, we already do this with sports and all sorts of things. There's probably still some sort of like reproductive battle to try and get to the top of the stack, even if you don't need to go and work to make money. There are still other things that you do with your time to raise your status in society. But I don't know. It is a bizarre future to think about. I just wonder if it's 5 years, 10 years, 50 years away.
We're in an era of instant gratification. That's the American system, is that now. Mm-hmm. Innovation, making money today, but when you think about 10, 20, 30 years from now, and artificial intelligence, what does the world look like? It's not about job displacement. It's not about control. But is artificial intelligence going to control us? Or will we control artificial intelligence?
And you would argue that social media already controls how we feel day to day. We open our phone and decide our mood based on what's happening in faraway places that we have nothing to do with.
Social media is a big problem.
It's so
easy. If you look at the divisiveness in this country, social media, whether you're a conservative, you go on Instagram and you're conservative, and then all of a sudden you get, these algorithms serve you all kinds of things that are going to make you mad. And if you're a liberal, you all of a sudden go on social media and you see all kinds of media that's going to make you mad. Yeah. Why is it that ultimately humanity, it comes down to why do we have to lose something in order to appreciate? Well, it feels like the only neutralizer is death and war. Doesn't have to be that way, but it feels like the only way we can ultimately appreciate something is if we actually lose it. It's very, very, very sad, but that's what it comes down to. There's so much indivisiveness in America. If we can just all come together and figure out things that we both agree on, but instead we figure out the reasons why we're going to be divided, and the politicians divide us. And
well, I think a lot of people have agreed. A lot of people on social media have agreed that they like you a lot. So there's one white pill in there.
Yeah, there's some.
Until they don't.
Well, hopefully it doesn't.
Do they like me over the long term? I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah.
True leadership is not about dividing people. It's figuring out how do we bring people together over the long term to benefit humanity.
Yeah. How do you apply that sort of thinking to video games? Because there was a lot of fear mongering about violent video games causing kids to become violent. The government did step in and regulate video games with the ESRB. Every game is given a rating, and young kids, they can figure out a way to get access to some violent video games, but it's, parents are more in control now. And I feel like we more or less got the good outcome, and people can enjoy video games responsibly. And of course there's some negative scenarios, but in general, I feel like video games have been just like a cool medium for artists to tell stories. There's wide variety of experiences. It feels like we as humanity got through that test, and whereas maybe we're still in the middle of the fight for positive social media, and maybe just at the beginning of the fight for positive AI outcomes. What lessons should we take from like how humanity dealt with video games?
I think the Chinese have restricted their children from playing video games. I let my kids play video games. Doesn't benefit unless they're playing like Mario Kart.
Yeah.
But you look at these like Call of Duty, they're killing each other. I want positive influences. I want things that are healthy. I want things where people are going to learn. Mm-hmm. Blowing someone's head off, exposing it to young people, governments, you look at America, it's the land of the free. It's great. It works well for immigrants because they come from places where it's shit, and they come to America, they have all this freedom and their gratitude. They're grateful. But then you look at people where they don't necessarily have that level of gratitude, and they come to America, you give them all this freedom and they destroy themselves. So do I want my kids going and playing Call of Duty, blowing each other's heads off? And then you look at the Chinese and they're restricting the ability to play video games. And you say, well, they're censoring versus we're free. Well, what's better for humanity? Having boundaries and having rules, or just letting people do whatever the hell they want, destroy their lives?
Have you ever thought about getting into politics?
I was born in Canada.
There are some positions you could still run for.
Which ones? Senator?
Yeah. I think you could be. I don't know if you can be senator, but you could be maybe mayor, right? Isn't the mayor of New York not born in America? Or going?
What is it? There was this saying I heard.
You could be city councilman, maybe.
Yeah. Because they'd kill me.
Well, you could go to Canada. You could be prime minister of Canada.
Ugh. Too honest. I'm too honest.
You're too honest.
I'd have to be full of shit. I'd have to be sure. They couldn't handle me. Politicians, they're like diapers. They start to stink. They start to stink very quickly. I couldn't play the bullshit.
No.
So you want to tell people what they want to hear.
Yeah.
And I'm not playing that game of what they want to hear. But when it comes to artificial intelligence and social media in general, is it beneficial to society and humanity as a whole? I don't like it.
That's extremely honest.
Humor confirmed.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Well, thank you so much. This has been a really great interview. Thanks so much for calling.
Yeah. Anything else that we missed?
We'd love to. Anything else that you're working on that we didn't touch on? We'd love to talk about.
You guys got anything else?
I think we're good.
Last question. What's your relationship like with Roaring Kitty? You guys talk much?
Ask him.
Okay. Yeah, we'd love to have him on the show. Maybe we'll
get him on the show.
That'd be a lot of fun. He's we're pretty new to the live streaming thing. I always enjoy talking to people who operate in the same medium, and so I'm sure we'll have a good conversation.
Yeah, we don't want day traders. We want. Yeah. I'll have a conversation with him if he's focused on decades and centuries, not on making a quick buck.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
I like it.
Well, yeah. Well, we're rooting for you for the next decade, for the next century, for the next millennia. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This was fantastic.
Yeah, great chatting, Ryan. Cheers.
Okay.
Have a good one. Bye.